Chapter 12:24. If it weren't for all the gifts you've given us over the years, our family would have probably bought 3 houses already. Their expressions turned ugly. Tang lied said, "What's wrong with helping your family? Is a house more important than your family? Ever since you started working, you've been thinking about money and leaving. You're selfish and only think about yourself. System, fuck, what kind of brain circuit is this?" Tang Guo didn't want to argue with them anymore. There was no point in arguing with them. Thinking about what might happen next month, she chuckled and called her aunt, Lu Chenyue. After a few rings, the other side picked up. Lu Chenyue's voice was warm and enthusiastic. "Is this Xiaoguo? Have you eaten?" "I just ate," Tang Guo replied. "Auntie, I heard from my mom that you came to our house today to borrow my car." "Yes, did your mom tell you about this? Our family is really struggling recently. Otherwise, we would have just gotten your cousin a new car. Why would we bother you?" Lu Chenyue sighed. "We really don't have the ability. Now that Jiming has brought his girlfriend back, we've been worried sick about finding a partner for him. Now that we've finally talked about a girl, she said that she wants to go on a road trip with Jiming no matter what. She even said that to determine a man's character, you have to go on a trip with him. Jiming's car has been around for so many years. He can't possibly use that broken car to take a girl on a road trip, right? It's not safe either. Who knows if it will break down on the road? How embarrassing would that be? Auntie thinks that Xiaoguo is also family. She definitely won't not help your cousin's marriage, right?" Lu Chenyue didn't wait for Tang Guo's reply and continued, "Auntie will thank you here first. Xiaoguo, Auntie will buy you some food next time. I'll also ask your cousin to treat you to a meal. How about that?" Tang Guo pursed her lips and said, "Auntie, this car is new. I just bought it 2 months ago. Xiaoguo, don't worry. Jiming will definitely take care of his car and won't break it." "System, you're really shameless." "Auntie, actually, I don't think it's safe to drive on your own. Why don't we sign up for a tour group? It'll be relaxing. Everything will be arranged by the tour guide. You won't have to worry about anything. It'll be safe and relaxing." Lu Chenyue, Jiming said that there's no point in signing up for a group tour. It's not comfortable traveling with a group tour. It's full of old men and old women with a girl, and there's nothing to talk about. It was great to go on a road trip. She could go wherever she wanted. Moreover, there are too many scams in the tour groups now. They want to buy things whenever they want. Not only will they not be happy, but they will also have to spend a lot of money. It's not worth it. Besides, the girl is traveling because she wants to see our Jiming's sense of responsibility. If we let the tour guide do everything along the way, then what does he have to do? When the time comes and we still can't succeed after spending the money, wouldn't the loss outweigh the gains? Tang Guo continued, "Auntie, can you ask my cousin to come over and talk to me directly?" "All right, tomorrow. Tomorrow happens to be the weekend. What do you think?" "Okay, tomorrow afternoon." Tang Guo hung up the phone and said goodbye to Tang Lide and Song Jinghua before returning to her room. The system couldn't hold it in anymore. "Host, this time, we're surrounded by quality goods. What do you plan to do?" These quality goods were unreasonable. The various schemes in the past were completely useless on these thick-skinned people. Chapter 12:25. Then don't worry about it. Tang Guo laughed softly, "Whatever they want to do, I'll try to persuade them first. If I can't persuade them, then I can only let them be. If they want to court death, who can stop them?" "Host, don't forget that there are still 2 idiots outside. If something happens to other families, these 2 idiots will have to bear the consequences." Idiots, after suffering a few more losses, when they live on the streets and under bridges, they will understand. The reason why they are so considerate of others now is because their lives are too good now. These kind of people, when they are driven into a corner and the people who helped them before are not willing to lend them a helping hand, then they will understand. After experiencing despair, they will know what stupid things they have done in the past. Tangwa sneered, borrow a car. How troublesome, just give it to Tang Jiming. The system thought of the later plot and trembled. In this world, its host was not so much a supporting female lead, but a small cannon fodder. There were no grievances between her and the male and female leads. Their only interaction was that a few years later, the host was hacked to death by her husband after drinking. The male lead was a police officer, and the female lead was a forensic doctor. The male lead took over the case, and the female lead dissected the body of the original host. Because of this case, the story behind this family was revealed. The female lead was also born in such a family, and learned her lesson. With the help of the male lead, she left that kind of family. After that, the two of them experienced many things, and finally got together. Host, you are so pitiful. In the main plot, you are actually a corpse with only your head exposed. The system gloated, ha 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 ha, it laughed to death. Tangwa pursed her lips and smiled, did eating too much energy make your brain stupid? The system did not dare to retort. It quickly held back its laughter and changed its words, but that was the fate of the original host. Now that the host is here, she is definitely not a corpse. She will definitely live a good life. These people will definitely not have a good time in the hands of the host. Host, I believe in you. You will definitely torture them. Bootlicker. Tangwa could not help but laugh. This stupid system's intelligence was becoming more and more problematic. The next day, Lu Chunyue's family, who were supposed to come in the afternoon, came in the morning. In addition to Lu Chunyue, Tang Liping also came. He was the leader of the family Tang, Tang Lide's elder brother, and Tangwa's uncle. The other one was Tang Jiming, Tangwa's cousin. He was 23 this year, 1 year older than Tangwa. Above him was his sister, Tang Lanxin. The three of them appeared with a bag of fruits. Song Jinghua and Tang Lide warmly invited the three of them in. Xiaogua, go and unwrap the candies for your cousin and the rest to eat. Song Jinghua called out, I'm going to buy groceries. She turned around and said to Lu Chunyue, sister-in-law, have a seat first. We'll cook when we're back with the groceries. Lu Chunyue quickly stood up and said with a smile, Jinghua, that's too much trouble for you. Let's go buy it together. Let's cook together later. We can't possibly wait for you to cook for us, right? Song Jinghua did not refuse. The two of them chatted and laughed as they went out. Lu Chunyue, who seemed to be very satisfied, went to buy groceries with her. The system heard the dissatisfaction in Tangwa's sneer and could not help but ask, Host, do you have any objections to Lu Chunyue doing this? Chapter 12:26. If my mom goes to buy groceries alone, she'll definitely bargain. Even if she doesn't buy the cheapest, she'll still choose the most affordable ones. She won't buy too much either, just enough to eat. If Lu Chunyue comes along, she'll definitely tell my mom that this one is good. My mom won't be able to refuse, so she can only buy them all. Lu Chunyue will pretend to pay, but my mom will definitely pay before she does. Just wait and see. In the end, they'll come back with a lot of fish and meat. When the time comes, they might even let Lu Chunyue bring the leftovers back to eat. System, is that even possible? Cousin, I heard that you're going on a road trip. Tangwa sat beside Tang Jiming. Many people say that road trips are very tiring and require a lot of planning. I think that if you want to bring sister-in-law along, you might as well sign up for a tour group. It won't be so tiring and it'll be safer. Tang Jiming smiled and said, Xiaogua, you don't know, but road trips are very interesting. It's especially troublesome to go with a tour group. I want to bring sister-in-law along to play and be free. Moreover, she also wants to go on a road trip. I can't possibly refuse her such a small request, right? Tangua thought to herself, you can comply with her wishes, but that's your girlfriend, not hers. Moreover, borrowing a car is a taboo, and it's a road trip. If something goes wrong, won't this matter be blamed on the car owner? It doesn't make sense to take advantage of others. She didn't say these words. When dealing with such a thick-skinned person, it didn't make sense to say anything more. As for telling Tang Jiming these things, it was just a polite persuasion. If he listened, then he would be lucky. If he didn't, then he deserved it. She would give anyone a chance to change. Now that it seemed that he was going to give up this chance, she could only express her regret. Sorry, she was a cold and hard-hearted person. She wasn't responsible for other people's lives. Cousin, actually, road trips are really not safe. Tang Jiming frowned unhappily. Xiaogua, do you not want to lend me your car? I heard from Mom that we have to come over personally to discuss this. We're all on the same side. Xiaogua, aren't you being too unkind by doing this? Have you forgotten that I was the one who helped you when you were bullied by the class next door when you were young? Tang Guo recalled for a moment and was speechless. It was obvious that Tang Jiming had provoked the head of the class next door. He knew that she was Tang Jiming's cousin, so he came to find trouble with her. In the end, he found Tang Jiming and beat him up. In the end, the news spread that Tang Jiming had been beaten up by the bully from the next class because he had tried to help her. Because of this incident, Tang Jiming's image in the eyes of the entire Tang family and Tang Lide and his wife were very good. Tang Jiming was good at talking and coaxing, so he was very likable. As long as something happened to him, Tang Lide and his wife would run even faster than Tang Jiming's parents. Even if the original owner was sick, it was not as important as Tang Jiming. Cousin, I just feel that it's very troublesome to borrow a car. Tang Guo frowned and said, also, after buying a car, the older I get, the more I feel that there's no need to buy a car. If I don't wake up early in the morning, I'll be stuck in traffic. I've almost been late a few times. Tang Jiming immediately said, since you don't need Xiaogua, you can lend it to me for a few days. It won't affect you anyway, and it's indeed more convenient to take the subway or bus to work. Chapter 12:27. If you drive, you'll be late. You might as well not drive. If you leave it aside, it'll be scrapped. You might as well lend it to me. Why is it a new car? I haven't driven it for long. Tang Guo pursed her lips. But I don't need it now. If I don't drive it, I spent so much money to buy it. I haven't even finished paying off the money for the car. I still have to save money to pay off my colleague. Tang Jiming was surprised. You borrowed money to buy the car? Yes. My parents said that I'm already an adult and can't ask them for everything. Also, this car is a consumable. I used the salary I saved for the past 2 years and the money I borrowed from my colleague. Finally, I can buy it. Tang Guo said in a low voice, I still owe my colleague 100,000 yuan. I have to pay it off within the next year. You owe so much. Yes. Tang Guo frowned. When she looked at Tang Jiming, her eyes lit up. Cousin, I actually thought of a way to get the best of both worlds. 1 ton, and 1 t/I. What way? Since you want to use the car, why don't I sell it to you? How about it? I don't want to drive to work now, but I want to pay off the debt as soon as possible. The car is new. It cost 200,000 yuan. We're family, so I'll sell it to you for 150,000 yuan. I bought this car 2 months ago and haven't driven it many times. It's really new. But this is considered a second-hand car. 150,000 yuan is really too much. From Tang Jiming's expression, Tang Guo could see that he was tempted. System, host, you're losing money. I never thought of taking advantage of him. I just want to throw this hot potato away so that I don't get into trouble. The system thought of the plot later and fell silent. Yes, it couldn't tell now. A month later, this car would be a hot potato. It would have to be sold. It had to be sold to Tang Jiming. Little Guo, in fact, I quite like your car, but 150,000 yuan is really expensive. Tang Jiming said. If that's the case, I might as well add some money and buy a new one. In fact, in his heart, he just wanted Tang Guo to reduce the price a bit, or even simply give it to him. Cousin, I also owe money. I have to pay it off, right? If I didn't owe money, I could give this car to you. My parents said that you were good to me when I was young. If I didn't have a choice, why would I be so calculative with you? You also know that my salary is only a few thousand yuan. It will take me 2 to 3 years to clear my debt. Tang Jiming really wanted this car. It had only been driven for 2 months, so it was practically new. He said in a low voice, less. If I had enough money, I wouldn't have asked you to lend me your car, right? How about 100,000? Just enough to clear the debt. How about it? Tang Jiming said, Cousin Xiaoguo, I still have to scrape together $100,000. If not for your sister-in-law, I wouldn't be in such a hurry. 110,000 yuan. Is that okay? Cousin, I really don't have money now. Tang Jiming thought about it. Reducing it from 200,000 yuan to 110,000 yuan was actually not bad. This was a car that cost 200,000 yuan. He had only seen her drive it a few times. Okay, then I'll go back and get some money. Cousin, hurry up. Then we'll go and transfer the ownership. But before that, I plan to check the car and get a certificate of maintenance. We're family. I don't want you to lose out. You can rest assured that I'll get a certificate of maintenance. I'll pay for the maintenance. How about it? Chapter 12:28. When Tang Jiming heard that he didn't need to spend his own money, he quickly said, Okay, let's do that. After we eat, I'll discuss it with my mom. Not long after, Song Jinghua and Lu Chunyue came back from buying groceries. The system saw that their hands were full of groceries and they almost couldn't hold them all. Especially when Lu Chunyue had a chicken hanging around her neck. The system silently complained that its host was really good at predicting things. Jinghua, you're too polite. Every time we come, you buy so many groceries, Lu Chunyue said as she carried the groceries into the kitchen. I'm a little embarrassed. Sister-in-law, what are you talking about? You don't come here often. Aren't you just buying some food? Even if you don't come, we still have to buy some. Since we're here, we'll buy more. What's there to be embarrassed about? Although Song Jinghua was distressed about spending so much money to buy so many things, she thought that since they were all family, it wasn't a big deal. Lu Chunyue said that Song Jinghua was a good person and liked to be close to her. She bragged about Song Jinghua, making Song Jinghua feel a lot better. The two of them were busy cooking and had only used up a little less than half of the ingredients. During the meal, Tang Jiming mentioned that he had just discussed buying a car with Tang Guo. Lu Chunyue's eyes lit up, but she said awkwardly, Is it really 110,000? Auntie, if it weren't for the fact that I really couldn't make ends meet, I wouldn't have bought the car so hastily. I could have just given it to him. Tang Guo raised her head and said. I really regret buying the car now. I want to pay off the debt now. Tang Li quickly said, we're all family. Why do you have to do so much? Xiaogua, if you don't drive the car, just lend it to your brother Jiming. Isn't that good? System, that's too embarrassing. This car originally belonged to Xiaogua. Lu Chunyue wanted to say something but was interrupted by Tanggua. Tanggua nodded. Dad, Auntie already said that she's sorry. Don't make things difficult for her. Also, I'm still in debt. The car originally cost 200,000, but cousin is a family member, so the price was reduced to 110,000. I just discussed it with him. If the First Lady's family is really in trouble, I'll have to sell the car somewhere else. Perhaps he could sell it for some money. As for the car that you need next month, there are actually many places that rent cars now. Not to mention a car like mine that is only worth 200,000 yuan, you can even rent a luxury car that is worth millions. When sister-in-law sees that you are so thoughtful, she will definitely be very happy. Lu Chunyue's expression changed. Let's forget about renting a luxury car. If something goes wrong, we won't be able to afford it. She looked at Tanggua and said, Xiaogua, is it really 110,000 yuan? Without waiting for Tanggua to speak, she continued, didn't you say you owed 100,000 yuan? How about 100,000? We're all family. Don't hurt our relationship because of this 10,000 yuan. Chunyu, it's not easy for Xiaogua either. 110,000 yuan is fine. Do you really need 10,000 yuan? In order for Jiming to marry a wife, we have to fork out the 110,000 yuan. Xiaogua's car is still new. He hasn't driven it many times. Where can we find such a cheap car nowadays? The person who spoke was Tanggua's uncle, Tang Liping. Before Tanggua could speak, Tang Li quickly said, I think 100,000 yuan is fine. Big brother, don't blame sister-in-law. Both of you are worried sick about Jiming's marriage. If it wasn't for the fact that Xiaogua, this prodigal girl, borrowed money to buy the car, I wouldn't have any objections to giving it to Jiming. The Apex. Chapter 1229. Tang Liping's words were both true and false, but Tanggua's father, Tang Li, was sincere. If she hadn't said that they owed 100,000 yuan and that the company had only instant noodles for lunch, he would have agreed to give the car to Tang Jiming. Those who didn't know better would have thought that Tang Jiming was his son. The matter was settled just like that. When Lu Chunyue's family left, Song Jinghua was indeed very enthusiastic. She asked them to take away most of the unfinished ingredients. Of course, Lu Chunyue also took away the chicken that was worth 150 yuan. Tanggua looked at the kitchen and saw that there were only some vegetables left. She didn't want to say anything. She looked at the two spendthrifts in the living room who were still discussing whether they were doing the wrong thing. They said that Lu Chunyue and her husband had been worried sick about Tang Jiming recently. They were worried that it would be too difficult for them to gather 100,000 yuan. If it really wasn't possible, they would give them some subsidies. Tanggua rolled her eyes and went into the room to close the door. System, host, they are so generous. Don't they feel bad about the money? Of course they do. But they care more about the kinship between their siblings. From what they know, they shouldn't destroy their relationship because of money. They didn't think that eldest uncle's family is actually richer than our family. Then we'll let them continue to give. The system couldn't make any comments about these two people. Tanggua lay on the bed and narrowed her eyes. I've said before that we'll let them have nowhere to go and lead a wandering life. Anyway, with me around, they won't starve to death. The system trembled. It had forgotten that its host was never soft-hearted. Next, if someone tries to take advantage of them, I'll give them a few words of advice. If they don't listen, then forget it. If they don't listen, then they can enjoy the hard days ahead. Host, don't forget that there's still a scumbag behind. That murderer. I won't forget. No matter who I forget, I can't forget someone who has a grudge against me. System, then pretend that he didn't remind you. A few days later, Tang Guo took Tang Jiming to have his car repaired. Of course, there was nothing wrong with the car. Tang Guo even asked the other party for 2 reports, one for herself and the other for Tang Jiming. She even took photos. During the transfer, it was also stated that the parts of the car were all in good condition at the time of the transaction. There were no problems at all. After settling all the procedures, Tang Jiming became the driver. He sat in the driver's seat and said to Tang Guo, "Cousin Xiao Guo, do you want me to send you back?" "No, cousin, I still have to return the money to my colleague. It just so happens that I have an appointment with the other party today. Since he has helped me so much, I also plan to treat his colleagues to a meal." Of course, this was a lie. If that's the case, then I'll be leaving. It was obvious that Tang Jiming was very happy. From the way he looked, it seemed like he wanted to drive around. "Cousin, be careful when you drive. In fact, I think it's best to travel with a tour group," Tang Guo reminded for the last time. Of course, Tang Jiming didn't listen to her and drove away. Tang Guo waved her small hand and was about to turn around and call for a taxi. At this moment, a man in a suit and leather shoes walked over. He looked very energetic and was even carrying a briefcase. This man was handsome. When he smiled, he looked especially good. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 12:30. When Tang Guo saw him walking towards her, she did not plan to leave. She stood there and waited for him to come to her. "Hello, beautiful young lady." Tang Guo smiled and greeted him, "Hello, handsome. What can I do for you? If you want my phone number, I will refuse." "Young lady, you are really smart. I did plan to ask for your phone number when we end the conversation," the man said. "But it sounds like you don't intend to give it to me. I don't like to reveal my phone number to a stranger." "Young lady, you are very cautious." "You are right to do this," the man said. "But I am not a bad person." "Bad people never say that they are bad people," Tang Guo said. "Then, handsome, why are you looking for me?" The man looked at the cars coming and going on both sides and asked, "Young lady, what do you think of life? Handsome, do you want to discuss life with me as soon as you arrive? Do you want to understand my views and get closer to me?" Tang Guo asked curiously. The man smiled but did not say anything. "Young lady, you haven't answered my question. Your question is too general. I can't answer it. Which aspect of life are you referring to?" The man smiled and turned to Tang Guo and said seriously, "Of course it is life and death and personal safety." "System, I keep feeling that something is wrong." Tang Guo, she felt it too. Life and death, let nature take its course. As for personal safety, do your best and leave it to fate. The man chuckled. "Young lady, you are really optimistic, but there are many things in life that are unpredictable. No one will live a smooth life. Many people can have their peaceful and happy lives destroyed because of an accident, especially ordinary people. This is especially true for ordinary people. When things happen, they realize that fate is out of their control. At the same time, for some reason, they have no choice but to use all their courage to fight against fate. They will not rest until they die." System, Tang Guo, young lady, did you see the ambulance rushing into the hospital just now? The man suddenly asked. Tang Guo did not miss it. She nodded and said, "I saw it. Does it have anything to do with our topic?" "Of course," the man continued as he looked at the hospital opposite. At that moment, another ambulance drove over. The medical staff rushed out and carefully carried the injured person down. Beside the injured person was a woman who was crying. That's an unforeseen accident in life. Miss, do you see those people standing at the entrance of the hospital with sad faces? Tang Guo only nodded. What happened to them? They also encountered many unexpected accidents. For example, a healthy family member suddenly fell seriously ill. Or, if there were any accidents, they would not be able to bear the consequences. Such a heavy burden, even if it was on them and they couldn't catch their breath, they had no choice but to bear it and continue walking. Bitter and helpless. So, handsome, what are you trying to say? The man came back to his senses and opened his briefcase. Miss, I'm sure you've gained some insight into life and understand that these accidents are inevitable, right? Then, the man took out a booklet. Miss, buy an insurance policy for your life. Vertex. Chapter 1231. With insurance against all kinds of accidents, no matter what happens in the future, there will be someone to bear all of it for you and accompany you for the rest of your life. With this, you will never have to worry about any accidents in your life, the man said very seriously. System, Tang Guo, after talking for so long, it turned out that he was selling insurance. Tang Guo didn't say anything. She stared at the man and said, Handsome, I'm really tempted by what you said. Then, Miss, do you want to buy one? There are many kinds of packages here for you to choose from. I guarantee that there will be one that suits you very well. Tang Guo continued, although what you said tempted me, I have the heart but not the strength. What's wrong? I don't have the money to buy it. Tang Guo looked at him eagerly. I really don't have the money, but I'm very tempted. Handsome, I feel that we are more congenial. I really want to buy your insurance. If you don't mind, and treat me as a friend, can you lend me some money? System, did you learn to be so thick-skinned from Lu Chunyue's family? A certain man. Lend her money to buy insurance. He glanced at Tang Guo. She was a little good-looking, but she could not commit murder just because she was good-looking, right? He had heard that his subordinates often told him that the insurance business was getting more and more difficult recently, and the competition was getting more and more intense. He planned to do it personally and see how difficult it was to do a few orders, and at the same time understand the customer's needs. In one morning, he completed 3 or 4 orders, and did not find it difficult. So, it must be that his subordinates wanted to slack off, which was why they said it was difficult. However, the situation that he encountered in the last round was something that he did not expect. It was also the first time he heard someone say that they were tempted but did not have the money. Could he lend her some money to buy it? Is it very difficult? Tang Guo held back her laughter and asked. The man glanced at her. Miss, actually, we're not very familiar with each other, right? For something like borrowing money, we have to be very familiar with each other. It's not like borrowing money after just meeting and chatting for a while. We still don't know the other party's name. It's best not to have this kind of financial relationship between the two of us. You're right. Tang Guo agreed. Then let's introduce ourselves. When we're familiar with each other, I'll borrow money from you. A certain man. Is this even possible? Yuan Shuo. However, he was very honest and told her his name. She didn't know if it was because he was too used to it, but he directly took out a gold-stamped business card and gave it to her. This is my business card. When he did this, Yuan Shuo froze for a moment, but now that he had taken it out, he couldn't take it back. Tang Guo took the business card and said casually, Tang Guo. She glanced at the name card and communicated with the system. It's actually the CEO of an insurance company. Is it so difficult to work in the insurance industry now? Even the CEO had to come out personally to solicit business. He was handsome and eloquent. If it was someone else, I reckon he would have succeeded. CEO Yuan is really dedicated. Tang Guo put the business card in her bag and took out her phone with a smile. She flashed a number to the other party. CEO Yuan, let's keep in touch in the future. When we're familiar with each other and become friends, you have to lend me money to buy insurance. Yuan Shuo. Should he not have looked for her? His fingers were very honest. He took out his phone and saved her number. CEO Yuan, I still have something to do. See you next time. Remember, let's keep in touch and become friends soon. Yuan Shuo, lend you money to buy insurance again. That would be a huge loss for him. Fu Pin Mandarin Peak. Chapter 1232. Tang Guo turned around and hailed a taxi. Sir, let's go to the nearest bank. What was she going to do? Of course, she was going to apply for a new card and deposit the money in it. Debts and whatnot were all fake. At the same time, she was going to transfer her other assets into the new card. Yuan Shuo looked at the woman who had left and glanced at the number and name on the phone. He chuckled and shook his head. He felt that today's encounter was a little strange. He did not intend to continue investigating the insurance business. He went to the parking lot and drove the brand new Maybach back to the company. After opening the online banking service, Tang Guo threw the card away. System. Why did she throw the card away? Don't mess it up. When the time comes and they ask for money, some people might be shameless enough to take out my wallet and ask me to show them if I have any money in my card. When I go back, I'll put the money in the new card into the stock market. Then I'll be safe. Tang Guo seemed to have seen through the system's doubts and answered. In the face of shameless people, only by being more shameless could she live happily. System, okay, he understood. The system analyzed silently. It seemed that the host had suffered a big loss and lost 100,000 yuan in one go. However, after understanding what happened later, he knew that this was called recovering the loss. Otherwise, there would be nothing left and she would have to pay a huge sum of money. After returning home, Tang Guo left some living expenses and threw all the money into the stock market. She had lived for so many years and was basically right at a glance when it came to things like making money in the stock market. Of course, she did not want to make a lot of money. In this life, she could not be too rich, at least on the surface. But she also had to ensure that she could take it out when she needed it. System, there are so many treasures in the space. You can buy a lot of villas just by selling a few. The host is too serious. Unless it is a last resort, she really will not use the things in the system space. What do you know? I don't need those things to save my life. I can live well with the abilities in my head. There's no need for me to take those things, even though they all belong to me. I'm worried. You don't have a factory date or address, and you don't have a warranty card. If you break it, I'll become lazy and don't want to do anything. What should I do next? You have to be vigilant in times of peace so that you can remain calm in the face of danger. The system panicked and hurriedly explained, Host, I don't think I'm easily spoiled. Look, you didn't even directly say that you won't break. Instead, you said that you won't break easily. This means that you can't guarantee that you won't break. System, host, I shouldn't be bad. Tang Guo said, but there's still a chance. System, he really can't say. He's definitely not bad. Alright, host wins. Don't worry, if you're really broken, I'll find a way to fix you. Tang Guo comforted the system in a soft voice. The system's originally low mood suddenly improved. As expected, the host treated him the best, the system thought happily. Oh right, host, was that man just now your cutie? The system was unable to identify that guy who transmigrated without his memory, but his host was always right. She had never been wrong in so many worlds. The other party came up to strike up a conversation. As a stranger, he was able to make the host smile and talk to him. This meant that the host's initial impression of him was not bad. Moreover, the host seemed to be in a good mood. His energy had also increased. Philippine Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1233. Then, it was very likely that Yuan Shua was him. Yes. Tang Guo admitted, this guy is really involved in all walks of life. This time, he has become an insurance seller. Host, he is the CEO of an insurance company. This time, he is probably out to experience the people's livelihood. Looking at his mouth, many people will be fooled by him to buy it. Tang Guo's lips curled up. Maybe he has already made several orders before me. Host, you keep saying that you want to get familiar with him and buy insurance with him. Aren't you afraid that he will be scared away? If he is scared away, I will flirt with him again and coax him back. Tang Guo said with a smile, when the time comes, I will buy a few more insurance. System, okay, he admits defeat. Ever since she sold the car to Tang Jiming, Tang Guo had been living peacefully for the past month. Other than people coming over from time to take advantage of her, there was nothing else major. Tang Li and Song Jinghua welcomed anyone who came. They thought that they were their own family and would grant them almost any request. Today, this person would borrow some money, and tomorrow, that person would borrow some money and leave. This person would ask them for help, and that person would ask them for trouble. The two of them were not busy with work, but because of these things, they became busy people. When Tang Guo was around, when someone came to borrow money, she would casually say, Dad, Mom, our family doesn't have much money left. There are still so many days left in the month. Do you want to leave some living expenses? Of course, the two of them would ignore her. After borrowing the money and leaving, the two of them would say to her, we are all family. If we can help, we will help. Whose family doesn't have accidents? Yeah, those families have accidents every month. Only our family eats bran and wild vegetables. Tang Li shook his head. You little girl, the older you get, the more selfish you become. This is not good. Xiaogua, we are all family. Can you really bear to see them suffer? Tang Guo did not try to persuade them anymore. These two definitely had some money in their hands and did not live a hard life. If it were not for people coming to take advantage of her every day, it would not be like this. He helped his nephew buy a house and was busy lending money to his niece to get married. They had never thought that their biological daughter had previously said that she owed a debt. They would always say that when she died, the property and the house would all belong to her. Tang Guo had a deep suspicion that by the time they left this world, all of their assets would be gone. Xiaogua, have you forgotten that when you graduated, it was your cousin who drove you to look for a job in the summer? If it were an outsider, would they help you? Song Jinghua said. Tang Guo wanted to say that her cousin had indeed promised to drive her to the company for the interview. However, halfway through, the other party said that he had some urgent matters to attend to and needed to pick someone up. After picking her up, he sent her to the company. However, the other party said that it wasn't far. They only arrived after half an hour of driving. The person who picked him up was actually a girl he met at a party and her friend. Later on, she did arrive at the company she was interviewing at, which was the company she was working at now. After the interview, in order to express her gratitude, she said that she wanted to have a meal. That cousin of hers had actually brought that girl and her friend along. The three of them were the ones who ordered the food. They were the ones who ate the most, she was the one who ate the least, and she was also the one who paid the bill. She had just graduated and she ate 2,000 yuan for a meal. Haha. Fukbin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1234. Anyway, Tang Gua had never thought that Song Jinghua and Tang Li, these two idiots, would be persuaded by her with just a few words. In their eyes, the kinship between siblings was the most important thing. Even she, as their daughter, had to take a back seat. It was just that out of habit, she would remind them every time. It could be considered as giving them a deeper impression so that in the future, when they recalled the past, they would regret their actions even more. If they never reflected on their actions, she had said that she would not let them starve to death on the streets. As for the days of wealth and happiness, she was afraid that there would be no more. After all, the entire family had been given away by them. Just like that, a month passed. Finally, it was time for Tang Jiming to take his girlfriend on a road trip. Ever since she sold the car to Tang Jiming, Tang Gua had not kept in touch with him. In the morning, when she was preparing to leave, she heard her mother nagging about how she hoped that Tang Jiming's marriage this time would be successful. Tang Gua thought about what was going to happen next and guessed how everyone would react as she stood at the bus stop and waited for the bus. Yes, now that she did not have a car, she could only take the bus to work. At this moment, a car stopped not too far ahead. Her phone rang with 3 words on the screen, "Insurance bro." She smiled and picked up the phone. "CEO Yuan. What are you doing?" "I'm waiting for the bus on the way to work," Tang Gua replied. "After all, I'm different from CEO Yuan. I drive everywhere." Yuan Shuo. He actually really wanted to ask. Didn't she say that they should keep in touch in the future? He was already prepared for her to call and harass him. He did not expect that for almost a month, she would not call him at all, not even a single message. He felt that this woman was poisonous. He actually thought about when she would call him every day to talk about becoming friends and borrowing money to buy insurance. This morning, he drove to the office as usual. He did not expect to see her standing at the bus stop by accident. His fingers did not listen to the truth and dialed her number. Since it was already dialed, he could not hang up. "How about I give you a ride?" Yuan Shuo said. After he finished speaking, he wanted to slap himself. Wasn't he trying to build a relationship with them? After they became friends, it would lead them to borrow money from him to buy insurance. Tang Gua immediately replied, "Sure, CEO Yuan. Are you nearby?" "Yes." After Yuan Shuo told her the location, Tang Gua found it and greeted him with a smile. "Mr. Yuan, what a coincidence. You are such a nice person. I'm sure I'll be very happy to be your friend." "CEO Yuan, do you have a girlfriend?" Yuan Shuo said uneasily, "No." "Why are you asking this? Could it be that you want to hit on him and become his girlfriend so that you can buy insurance without spending money?" "That's good." Tang Gua sat in the front passenger seat and fastened her seatbelt. "I heard that you can't sit in the front passenger seat of a man who has a girlfriend. It will ruin their relationship." "Miss Tang, you're quite smart. If I had a girlfriend, I wouldn't have hit on you. After having a girlfriend, it was best to keep a safe distance from the opposite sex and not give them any chances. If I had a girlfriend, I would have pretended not to see you and driven past you." Tang Gua said with a smile, "CEO Yuan is really a principled person." "Oh right, CEO Yuan, if you have a girlfriend, do you need money to buy insurance?" Yuan Shuo almost lost his grip on the steering wheel and said quickly, "Yes, you need money. Business is business." Vertex. Chapter 1235. He wouldn't say that his girlfriend didn't need money to buy insurance. This woman really had no bottom line. What if she wanted to be his girlfriend for free just to buy insurance? He He glanced at her from the corner of his eye, quickly looked away and drove seriously. Yuan Shuo was shocked. Why would he think that it would be good to have her as his girlfriend? The next day, Tang Guo stood at the public bus stop for 2 minutes. Yuan Shuo called. Miss Tang, are you waiting for the bus again? Yes, I do it every day. After all, I have to go to work. Quite early. I'm afraid of traffic later. It's better to be early. Mr. Yuan, you're up quite early too. I'm also afraid of traffic. Miss Tang, how about I give you a ride? It was a coincidence that I saw you today. If I didn't get up 2 minutes later, we might have missed you. I understand. Mr. Yuan, you're such a busy person. You must be too tired to get up late. Tang Guo had already gotten into the car and was fastening her seatbelt. Yuan Shuo said, that's fate. The two talked all the way until Tang Guo got out of the car and waved goodbye. Yuan Shuo's company was not far from where Tang Guo worked. It was only 1 street away. They bumped into each other several mornings in a row. System, bumping into each other. It would be strange if they didn't bump into each other. One day, Tang Guo was busy at the company when she suddenly received a call from her mother, Song Jinghua. Xiao Guo, come back quickly. Your brother Jiming is in trouble. Mom, what happened? Wasn't his WeChat moments fine a few days ago? He had a car accident. I can't explain it clearly over the phone. Come to the hospital quickly. Song Jinghua sounded very anxious. Then, she hung up the phone. Tang Guo looked at the hung-up phone and said, coming. She looked out of the window and saw the white clouds floating in the sky. Then, she went to ask for leave from her boss. Maybe it was a coincidence, but when she was about to take a taxi to the hospital, Yuan Shuo's car stopped in front of her. Miss Tang, you're off work so early today. No, my family called to say that something happened to my cousin. He's in the hospital now and they want to check on him. Yuan Shuo's expression turned serious. Then I'll send you off. Will it delay your important business? No, I don't have anything important to do today. Yuan Shuo smiled and sent a message to his assistant. The meeting at 4 in the afternoon is cancelled. It was not an important meeting, so it did not matter if it was cancelled. 20 minutes later, Tang Guo arrived at the hospital. She called Song Jinghua and asked who they were, then walked over unhurriedly. She didn't ask why Yuan Shuo was still following her. When he arrived outside the ward, there were many people standing outside. It was noisy and there were cries mixed in. The one who cried the loudest was Lu Chenyue. Tang Guo found Song Jinghua and Tang Li. She walked over and asked softly, Dad, Mom, what's going on? Didn't Jiming bring his girlfriend on a road trip? On the way back, there was a car accident. His girlfriend was only slightly injured, but your cousin's leg was crushed under the car. He just had an amputation operation, and it was amputated from below his thigh. Song Jinghua wiped away her tears as she spoke. Jiming is only in his 20s. He's so young. How could something like this happen? Why is my son the only one who was amputated? Lu Chenyue couldn't accept the reality. She cried and shouted, there were 4 people in the car. Why are the other 3 fine and only slightly injured? Why is my son the only one who lost his leg? Climax. Chapter 1236. God is so unfair. Jiming, what are we going to do in the future? Because Tang Jiming was still in a coma, Lu Chenyue was driven out by the nurse because she was crying inside, so as not to disturb the other patients. How did my son get amputated and become disabled? How am I going to live the rest of my life? Lu Chenyue sat on the ground and cried loudly. No matter how the people around her tried to persuade her, she would not listen. Tang Guo asked in a low voice, "How did the car accident happen? Did you find out who's responsible?" "I know." According to the test, Brother Jiming drank and forgot to put on his seatbelt. The one who spoke was the youngest of the family, Tang Lixing, who was also Tang Lixing's younger brother's only daughter, Tang Mengmeng. Tang Mengmeng chewed gum in her mouth and muttered as she told Tang Guo what had happened. Tang Jiming's girlfriend and another couple went on a road trip together, one before returning, they drank a little and were in high spirits. In the end, when they took a wrong turn, they hit another car. The front of the other car was seriously damaged, but miraculously, the other party only suffered minor injuries. Therefore, the only person who was seriously injured and amputated was Tang Jiming. Tang Jiming was mainly responsible for this accident. Therefore, in addition to paying a heavy price, he also had to compensate the other party's losses. Even if the other party's car was insured, because the damage was too serious and the car itself was not cheap, Tang Jiming still had to pay a large sum of money. After hearing the whole story, Tang Guo stood quietly on the side and did not say a word. Lu Chunyue did not make a scene, but she was still crying. "If I knew, I wouldn't have gone on a road trip." Tang Liping, who was sitting in the corner and smoking, frowned and said, "What's so good about a road trip? Now, he almost lost his life. How is Jiming going to live the rest of his life?" "Yes, I shouldn't have gone on a road trip." Lu Chunyue wiped her tears, "I shouldn't have driven on a road trip." At this moment, she stared at Tang Guo. Before anyone could react, she rushed in front of Tang Guo with a fierce look on her face. "Tell me, is this all part of your scheme?" I understand. You're complaining that Jiming borrowed your car, so you tampered with it and sold it to him at a low price. You set him up for a car accident and wanted to kill him, right?" Lu Chunyue howled, "You're so cruel. No matter what, he's still your cousin. He even helped you when you were young. How can you be so cruel? You'll compensate me for Jiming's leg, and you'll exchange it for Jiming's leg." Lu Chunyue seemed to be crazy. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws to catch Tang Guo. Tang Guo was already prepared and dodged. Lu Chunyue didn't manage to catch anyone, so she started cursing. Her curses were especially unpleasant. In the end, she simply sat on the floor and cried beside Song Jinghua. "Jinghua, how did our Jiming ever let your Xiaoguo down? Wasn't it just borrowing a car? She's so young, but she was so cruel to want my Jiming's life. Great, now that Jiming's leg is gone, isn't she very happy?" This. Song Jinghua looked at the pitiful Lu Chunyue. Even if the other party's curses were unpleasant, she couldn't blame her. After all, Tang Jiming had indeed lost his leg, and Lu Chunyue was also pitiful. There was no need for her to add fuel to the fire and hurt their relationship. If she scolded her, then so be it. Just bear with it and it will be over. When her sister-in-law wakes up, she will know that Xiao Guo isn't that kind of person. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1237. Tang Lide thought the same. Although they wanted to protect their sibling relationship, they still believed that Tang Guo would not do such a thing. Both of them thought that it would be over after a while. They were all reasonable people who would not hurt each other's feelings. Once the matter was over, they would help Tang Jiming a little and the matter would be over. Even if Tang Jiming was disabled, they would not ignore it. But they did not expect that Lu Chunyue would not let it go. She insisted that they give an explanation about Tang Guo framing Tang Jiming. They were still in the hospital. She was the one who made a scene and her words were unpleasant to hear. Those who were not in the know looked at Tang Guo strangely. Song Jinghua finally defended herself. "Sister-in-law, although Xiao Guo is not very sensible, she would do such a thing. But if you're saying that she would do such a heartless thing, that's impossible. That's right, sister-in-law. How could Xiaoguo do that? You've misunderstood. Lu Chunyue did not listen and shouted, when we borrowed the car, she pushed and dragged it. Then she changed her mind and wanted to sell the car to Jiming at a low price. Not long after, something happened to Jiming. Don't you think it's a coincidence? Isn't that what happens on TV? How could there be such a coincidence? She did it on purpose. Even if she's your daughter, there's no knowing what's in her heart. Who knows if she's black or white? Tang Guo said, Auntie, I sold the car to cousin at a low price because we're relatives. You just want to frame Jiming and kill him. Lu Chunyue was very agitated. You just want to kill him. You just can't stand to see him living well. Otherwise, who would sell a car that they bought 2 months ago at half the price? Tang Li did not agree. Sister-in-law, I can guarantee that Xiaoguo did not have such thoughts. Moreover, Jiming has been driving the car for more than a month after he got it. If there was a problem, it would have happened long ago. Why would she wait until now? Brother, say something. When Tang Li saw that Lu Chunyue could not hear him clearly, he insisted that it was Tang Guo who tampered with the car and wanted to kill Tang Jiming. There were also people whispering in the surroundings. Tang Li cared about his reputation, so of course he couldn't sit still. Tang Liping raised his head and said, Li De, it's hard to say. It's too much of a coincidence. Can you explain why something happened after the car was sold to Jiming? Chen Yu was right. How could she give a car worth 200,000 to Jiming for 100,000? I thought about it, and the more I thought about it, the more I felt that something was wrong. Tell me, when did Xiaoguo become so hostile towards Jiming? She actually wanted to take his life. I really misjudged her. Jiming doted on this little cousin so much when he was young. It's not worth it. Tang Li didn't know how to explain. It seemed that no matter how he explained, it wouldn't be convincing. He believed that the coincidences that Tang Liping mentioned were coincidences. It was absolutely impossible for him to believe in his daughter and take Tang Jiming's life. On this point, Tang Li and Song Jinghua were the same. They felt pity for Tang Jiming. In their hearts, they wanted to help him more in the future. But the thing that harmed Tang Jiming was definitely not done by their daughter. When the system saw this, it finally understood why the host said that as long as she was around, Tang Li and Song Jinghua would not be short of food. It was just that she could not give them wealth and family. Chapter 1238. Seeing that things were in a deadlock, Tang Guo stood out from behind Yuan Shuo. During the chaos just now, for some reason, Yuan Shuo subconsciously stood in front of her and blocked her. Looking at how noisy this family was, he thought to himself that he still had to buy accident insurance. Uncle, Auntie, before I sold the car to my cousin, we went to witness the car maintenance together and even got the maintenance report. So, I have evidence to prove that there is nothing wrong with the car. Lu Chunyue was stunned, and so was Tang Liping. If you insist that I framed my cousin, why don't you call the police? Let the police investigate this matter. Also, the traffic police have already determined that my cousin had an accident because he drove under the influence and didn't wear a seatbelt. All the responsibility lies on his own shoulders. I didn't force you to buy the car. I said that if you didn't buy it, I would sell it to someone else. /1, but how can there be such a coincidence? The car was originally yours, and this happened only a month after it was in Jiming's hands. No matter what, you can't get away with it. Lu Chunyue didn't give up. Jinghua, tell me, what should we do about this? Tang Guo took out her phone and called the police. Lu Chunyue didn't have time to stop her, and the others didn't expect that she would really call the police. Tang Gua said, "There are so many people watching now. If I don't make it clear, they may misunderstand that I committed attempted murder. This kind of groundless accusation can easily affect my life and work. Since Auntie insists that I am responsible, let's call the police and let the police decide whether I am responsible or not. After all, I also want to be innocent, and you also want to be fair." Yuan Shuo wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything. She seemed to be able to handle it herself. Not long after, the police got involved in the investigation. Of course, all the evidence showed that Tang Guo was innocent. There was nothing wrong with the car during the transaction. They even took the video of the maintenance. The shop that repaired the car would save all the videos. Lu Chunyue saw with her own eyes that Tang Jiming said that the car was fine and left happily in the end. Although she still thought that if Tang Gua had not sold the car to Tang Jiming, nothing would have happened. She would not accuse Tang Gua of framing Tang Jiming. Tang Li and Song Jinghua also let out a sigh of relief because of this. They went to the hospital every day. When Tang Jiming woke up and found out that he had been amputated, he became mentally unstable and could not accept his condition. Like Lu Chunyue, he hated Tang Gua and blamed her for selling the car to him. Tang Li and Song Jinghua felt very guilty. They more or less felt that Tang Gua shouldn't have sold the car. If he didn't sell it, Tang Jiming might be fine. When Tang Gua heard this, she sneered and said to them, "Even if I don't sell it to him, he will still borrow my car. Things will still happen. Dad, Mom, you even persuaded me to lend you my car. Your cousin doesn't even have a leg now. Xiaogua, can't you be more understanding?" Tang Li said, "Their family is suffering now. Just bear with it. It will be fine after this period of time." Tang Gua did not think that things would be over so soon. Just wait. Not long after, Lu Chunyue and Tang Liping came. Fuping Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1239. "Big brother, sister-in-law, what happened?" Tang Li asked. Lu Chunyue cried as she told them the story. It turned out that it was about compensating the owner of the car that was hit. Even if it was insured, the traffic police had already determined that Tang Jiming was responsible. He still had to pay the other party 500,000 yuan. It was already hard for Lu Chunyue to accept that Tang Jiming's leg was broken. Now, she had to pay 500,000 yuan. How could she accept it? Of course, she refused. She could only look for Tang Li and his wife. On the third day after Jiming's accident, his girlfriend broke up with him, Lu Chunyue said pitifully. Jiming lost his leg, so it's even harder for him to find a girlfriend. We thought of selling his house, but what would happen to him after that? Jinghua, we were wrong about Xiaogua. Lu Chunyue sighed. I was so angry that I said those hurtful words. It's good that sister-in-law understands, Song Jinghua comforted her. We know you're upset, so let bygones be bygones. What do you plan to do next? What else can we do? We can only pay. If we don't, the other party may use coercive means to sue us and take our house back. Lu Chunyue said, but our family's money has been emptied. We still need a lot of money to pay for Jiming's treatment. Host, didn't your parents give Lu Chunyue 100,000 yuan for Tang Jiming's treatment at the hospital? Tang Gua, who wouldn't want more money? Now that her son's leg is broken, she says it has nothing to do with me, but in fact, she already thinks it's my fault. She probably thinks that my parents gave her 100,000 yuan because they felt guilty and wanted to compensate her son. How can there be such a person in the world? Jinghua, can you lend us 500,000 yuan? No matter what, we have to pay the debt first. Song Jinghua and Tang Li looked at each other. 500,000, this was indeed a very large number. Although people had borrowed money from them over the years, it was still not enough. They had saved a lot of money, but taking out 500,000 yuan at once was still a bit painful. Lu Chenhua had been crying in front of the two, saying that she had a hard life and that it was her son, Tang Jiming, who was unlucky. She also scolded Tang Liping for being useless. If Tang Liping had the ability, they could have bought a new car for Tang Jiming long ago. If he bought a new car, he wouldn't buy Tang Guo's second-hand car. If she had not bought Tang Guo's second-hand car, perhaps her son's leg would not have been broken. I know. It's not Xiao Guo's fault. That was an accident, Lu Chenhua said. It's my Jiming's fate. Now that his legs are gone and his girlfriend is gone, I don't know how he's going to live the rest of his life. Which family's girl is willing to come to our house? Sister-in-law, don't cry. I'll lend it to you, okay? Song Jinghua felt a little guilty. At the same time, she pitied Tang Jiming. Tang Li didn't utter a word. It was clear that he agreed to lend the 500,000. After borrowing 500,000 yuan, Lu Chenhua and Tang Liping left. While Tang Jiming was in the hospital, Tang Li and Song Jinghua visited him almost every day. After Tang Jiming woke up, he was depressed. When the couple saw him like that, they felt sad and guilty. Almost every time they went over, they would give him money. Not only did they give him money, but Tang Li also emptied his feces and urine. Sometimes, Tang Guo would go over to take a look and occasionally persuade them. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1240. She wanted to say that it was not her family's fault and that she would visit them occasionally and buy some tonics. However, the couple scolded her for being cold. Her cousin's leg was broken, but she still stood aside and made sarcastic remarks. They even said that if they did not know that she was their daughter, they would suspect that she was the one who caused Tang Jiming's accident. What Tang Guo wanted to say was that their behavior and Lu Chunyue's personality would make people in the ward think that she was the one who did it. Didn't they see that every time she went to the ward, the people in the ward looked at her strangely? Tang Guo waited for the bus at the fixed bus stop every day. Every time she arrived, Yuan Shuo would call her. Miss Tang, what a coincidence. Are you waiting for the bus again? Yes, CEO Yuan, you're not at that place again, are you? Yes, Miss Tang, you are so smart. Come on, it's on the way. Thank you. I don't know when the bus will come, Tang Guo replied with a smile. System, are these two people interesting? Are they interesting? They went to work together every day. One was waiting for the bus, and the other was waiting for the bus. They were all adults. Couldn't they be more direct? Why did they have to be so flirtatious? Boring. Yuan Shuo suddenly remembered that he had sent Tang Guo to the hospital. Calculating the time, it had already been a week. Miss Tang, how is your family? At that time, Yuan Shuo had seen how thick-skinned that family was. They had pushed the blame of the car accident to her. An ordinary girl would have been scared out of her wits. She was smart. When she sold the car, she sent it for inspection first. When she was framed, she called the police directly. Based on these two things, it could be seen that she was not a weak person who could be bullied. Well, a woman who was sold insurance by him, cried that she was poor, and said that she wanted to be good friends with him and borrow money from him to buy insurance was not a simple person. My cousin is still in the hospital. He is fine. He has been fed by my parents. She had been fed fat, hadn't she? She ate better than a woman who was in confinement. Every day, it was either bone soup, chicken soup, or all kinds of soup. Anyway, whenever they were free, the two of them would go to the hospital. They were even more diligent than Lu Chenhua, their biological mother. The two of them had done almost everything that Tang Jiming's parents were supposed to do. Whenever she went over, she would see Tang Li and Song Jinghua busily working while Lu Chunyue and Tang Liping would sit at the side and chat with them. Tang Jiming, on the other hand, was lying on the hospital bed, eating. The plate on his face was bigger than before. After hearing this, Yuan Shuo was very surprised. Are your cousin's parents very busy? Why do your parents have to take care of him? It's fine if they take care of him once or twice, but why do they have to take care of him every day? Maybe they still feel guilty that I sold the car to my cousin, Tang Guo said indifferently. But it's not your fault. Besides, your car has been checked. There's no problem at all. Also, he was the one to blame for his car accident. First, he drank. Second, he didn't wear a seatbelt. Tang Guo chuckled. It's rare that Yuan is always on my side. Why? No one is on your side. Yuan Shuo paused and asked. Tang Guo shook her head. Even if it's not my fault, I was the one who sold the car to my cousin. Because he broke his leg, he has to take the blame. Fupin Chinese Vertex. Chapter 1241. None of my relatives think that what my parents did was wrong. Enikam and the others all think that they are helping me atone for my sins. Yuan Shuo was a little angry when he heard this, but he remained calm on the surface. Have you told your parents about this? I have, but they won't listen. They even scolded me for being cold and heartless. They said that my cousin's legs are gone. Can't I be considerate? Yuan Shuo thought that she would be sad when she said this. Then he saw her indifferent expression and felt a little strange. She didn't seem sad. He asked, Miss Tang, don't you feel sad having such relatives and parents? It's been like this since I was young. I'm used to it. Her indifferent expression made Yuan Shuo have a strange feeling in his heart. Then it's a pity that I can't help you. If your cousin's family wants to buy insurance, you can look for me. It's best to buy insurance for people who easily neglect their personal safety. System, little brother, you won't be able to get a girlfriend like this. Tang Guo. When Tang Guo got off work in the afternoon, Yuan Shuo, coincidentally, drove out and gave her a ride home. The two of them greeted each other. One of them drove while the other took a ride. They chatted and laughed along the way. While chatting, Yuan Shuo would mention whether to buy insurance from time to time. The system guessed that this might be out of professional habit. When Tang Guo returned home, she saw her parents sitting in the living room. It had only been a week, but they had lost a lot of weight. Dad, Mom, didn't you go to the hospital today? She asked in a friendly manner. Song Jinghua looked up at Tang Guo and said, We already went. Your first mother thinks that it's too hard for us to help out for a week. We have to work and take care of Jiming at the same time. She said that she will take care of Jiming in the future. Sister-in-law is still a good person, Tang Li said. Tang Guo pursed her lips and said, Everyone knows that it's the most troublesome to take care of a seriously injured patient in the first week. Xiao Guo, how can you say that? Your cousin's legs are gone, and you still say that. You. Seeing that Tang Li still wanted to say something, she hurriedly waved her hand. All right, all right, all right. You're all right. You should take care of him. His legs are gone, so you should take care of him. By the way, Dad, Mom, what were you talking about just now? Why did I hear you talking about money? Could it be that their family is short of money and wants to borrow money from you? When the two heard Tang Guo's question, their gazes were somewhat evasive. Song Jinghua quickly said, I'm not borrowing money. However, being stared at by Tang Guo's eyes, her face still felt a little hot. It's like this. Isn't Jiming's leg broken now? He didn't get rid of his old car. And then? Tang Guo really didn't understand. Lu Chunyue's family didn't play these tricks very well. Why did the two of them get involved? Were face and favors really that important? At this moment, Tang Li said, aren't they short of money? Jiming can't drive a car, sister-in-law doesn't know how to drive, and big brother has already retired and doesn't need a car. They plan to sell the car to me because it's old and not much. $50,000. I've been discussing with your dad. Since Xi Ming is already in this state, we might as well buy the car for $100,000. It's also indirectly helping sister-in-law and the rest, Song Jinghua continued. System, host, that car is sold for less than $10,000. $8,000, no more. The other party is trying to rip you off. Why did your parents add $50,000? Peak. Chapter 1242. Have you guys already discussed it? Are you planning to buy it or have you already bought it? Tanggua asked in surprise. She really didn't expect that after going around in circles, the car would still come back to her house. Nkom Song Jinghua looked awkward. We just discussed it and haven't bought it yet. Xiaogua, you have to understand us. Your cousin. I know. His leg is broken. Without a leg, he has nothing. If you can help him, then help him. Don't worry, Dad, Mom, I have no objections to you spending your own money. Anyway, it's yours. You can decide for yourself. Tanggua thought for a moment and said, but let's not buy this car. Just give uncle and the rest 100,000 yuan. Now that cousin's leg is inconvenient, doesn't uncle know how to drive? It's good to leave the car to uncle and drive cousin out occasionally. If they have a car, it won't be convenient for them to go anywhere. After hearing what Tanggua said, the two of them thought about it and agreed. If Tang Jiming didn't have a car, it wouldn't be convenient for him to go anywhere. It was better to leave the car to Tang Liping. The two of them discussed for a while and felt that Tanggua was right. It was fine if they gave the money, but they didn't want the car. It meant that Tang Jiming's family didn't have it easy. Tanggua sat at the side and watched the couple discuss. She was amused. She just didn't understand. A couple who only had one house and probably had less than 500,000 yuan in savings were actually worried. They had two houses at home and didn't know how much savings they had. It was really strange. Dad, Mom, have you discussed it? Then we'll do as Xiaogua said and give Jiming 100,000 yuan. In the end, Tang Li decided and said, Jiming is really pitiful. Now that his partner is gone, I don't know if he'll be able to find another in the future. Without a leg, his life is over. His life is ruined. Tanggua didn't want to hear them talk about how pitiful Tang Jiming was. Instead, she said, Dad, Mom, when you send the money over, why don't you tell Uncle and Auntie that cousin's car will be scrapped in a year or two? Also, I heard that it hasn't been sent for maintenance for a long time. For the sake of personal safety, let's gather the money to buy a new one. Tanggua expressed that she was just reminding him out of kindness. No matter what, as long as the car didn't come to her house, everything was fine. System, that's right, everything is fine. Tang Jiming's family, whether it's people or cars, are especially troublesome. The two of them expressed that they would, and agreed very well. Tanggua guessed that they would probably remind her, but whether Lu Chunhua would listen was not certain. It was none of her business whether she listened or not. But as for these two people, forget it. In any case, the other siblings' families would always come looking for them whenever something happened. More than 10 years ago, her family was indeed one of the best. There were quite a few relatives who tried to take advantage of her. She had gotten used to it after a while. Perhaps it was because the two of them had always enjoyed the feeling of being surrounded by people and helping their family. Whenever someone begged for help and failed to help the other party, they would feel guilty. He clearly had no obligation to help, so why did he feel guilty? They said that they cared about kinship and helped each other. For more than 10 years, she hadn't seen anyone else help their family. If anything happened, it would run faster than a rabbit. The next day, the two of them sent 100,000 yuan to Tang Jiming. At the same time, they said that they didn't want the car. If they could only take the money, it would be a waste not to take it. Peak. Chapter 1243. When Tang Guo returned home, she saw the two of them happy as if they had won a prize. She found it strange. They had lost 100,000 yuan, so why were they so happy? Tang Guo asked the two of them if they had reminded Lu Chunyue to change the car or send it for maintenance. The two of them said that they had. After a while, Tang Jiming was discharged from the hospital. The family Tang's relatives had all come. Tang Guo saw Tang Liping drive the old car and carry Tang Jiming into the car. She understood that Lu Chunyue's family probably did not listen. If this car was sent for maintenance, there would definitely be problems. When the time came, the maintenance person would directly tell them that it had to be scrapped. If it continued to be driven, there would definitely be problems. She laughed softly. You brought this upon yourself. System, unlucky. I think the car that Jiming bought back then is not bad. It has been driven for so many years and has never had a problem. When they returned to Tang Jiming's house, Lu Chunyue said with a smile, the quality of the things in the past was good. They didn't break even after so many years. Unlike the things now, there are problems so easily. 1 ton, and 1 t/I. As she thought of the car that had been wrecked and spent 100,000 yuan. Her heart ached. Fortunately, the 100,000 yuan was returned to them in the end. Auntie, have you sent this car for maintenance? Tang Guo asked with a smile. Lu Chunyue widened her eyes. What maintenance? It's fine. Do you need maintenance? The quality of the things in the past was good. There were no problems at all. Xiaoguo, not to mention anything else, just in terms of buying a car, you really aren't as good as my Jiming. Look at the car you bought before. It broke after a collision. It really can't take much. Tang Guo, system, amazing. It broke after a collision. Was that a light collision? No matter what, the car still needs maintenance. Tang Guo only said this one sentence. Of course, in the end, she was refuted by Lu Chunyue a few times. In the end, she did not say anything else. Later on, Lu Chunyue ignored Tang Guo. The family sat in the living room and chatted and laughed. Basically, they were all talking around Lu Chunyue's family. Tang Li and Song Jinghua sat to the side, occasionally interjecting a sentence or two. Sister Xiaoguo, you can't figure it out either. You actually want to sell the car to brother Jiming. He's always been good at driving. Now that something has happened, it would be strange if he didn't find trouble with you. Tang Mengmeng sat beside Tang Guo and continued chewing her gum. She said in a low voice, I heard that second uncle and second mother borrowed 500,000 from them. Your family is really rich. The medical fees were all paid by second uncle and second mother. Later on, they even gave another 100,000 yuan. Second uncle and second mother probably prepared a lot of dowry for you, right? To tell you the truth, I don't think I have a single cent in my dowry, Tang Guo said in a low voice. I really can't control how my parents spend their money. How can you say that? Sister Xiaoguo, it's not that I want to criticize you, but second uncle and second mother only have one daughter. In the future, when they're old, all their assets will belong to you. You'll still have to take care of them when they retire. Now that you've given everything to other families, you'll have a lot of guts in the future. Tang Meng Meng always felt that her second uncle and second mother were two simple-minded people. They didn't treat their own daughter well and just had to help other people. Take Tang Jiming for example. They actually took care of him while Lu Chunyue was idle at the side. If she was Tang Guo, she would have jumped up long ago. Peak. Chapter 1244. Now, they were even giving the money away. She couldn't tolerate any of this. Qirenwen and Ikam luckily, her parents weren't such people. What can I do if my parents don't listen to me? Tang Guo said helplessly. The money is in their hands. Even if I can stop them once, can I stop them a second time? I heard that they were planning to sell the car to you. How did you end up giving them 100,000 yuan? Was second uncle an idiot? Even if it's a broken car, you have to take it. You can at least recoup some of your losses, Tang Meng Meng nagged. Tang Guo smiled but didn't say anything. How could she tell them the key to this? Previously, she only sold the car and didn't lend it to them because she knew what would happen next. If she had only lent the car to Tang Jiming because she was the owner, she would be the one responsible for the loss. Although in the end, the loss still fell to her parents. At least she was exempted from the responsibility. Moreover, she had made up her mind to let these two people have a taste of being betrayed by their relatives. She wanted them to open their eyes wide and see what kind of people these relatives, who liked to take advantage of others and were usually helped by them, were. If they didn't suffer a little, they would never understand the true colors of these people. Although Tang Meng Meng seemed to be very concerned about her, in reality, Tang Meng Meng was also a big mouth. If she really revealed something, within an hour, the entire family Tang group would know what she was thinking. There was a family Tang group. Whenever there was something new, it would be publicized in the group. Tang Meng Meng came over to say this just to get some information from her. Sister Xiaoguo, actually, I still think that you should have that broken car. I heard that you take the bus to work every day. Having a car is better than anything else, Tang Meng Meng continued. Tang Guo smiled. It's all right. It's not bad to wake up early and take the bus. Moreover, if I take the car, what do you want cousin to do? His legs are inconvenient now. I can't take advantage of him, right? Tang Meng Meng saw that she could not get any new information, so she did not say anything more. She began to hold the remote control, chewing gum while watching TV, ignoring Tang Guo. One afternoon, Tang Guo got off work. Yuan Shuo was still at the same place, watching her leave the company building. Then, he drove over and bumped into her. Just as the two of them were about to greet each other, Tang Meng Meng ran over from somewhere. Sister Xiaoguo, are you off work? I happen to be shopping. Do you want to go back with me? At this moment, Tang Meng Meng saw Yuan Shuo standing in front of Tang Guo. Yuan Shuo was dressed in a suit and looked handsome, which won the hearts of girls like Tang Meng Meng. Her eyes lit up when she saw Yuan Shuo. Sister Xiaoguo, who is this? Are you a colleague? Although Tang Meng Meng was asking Tang Guo, her eyes seemed to be glued to Yuan Shuo. She had seen this man before, but she did not pay much attention to him at that time. She did not expect that this man could drive such a good car. He must be from a good family. Why don't you introduce me? Hello, my name is Tang Meng Meng. I am Sister Xiaoguo's cousin. Sister Xiaoguo is 22 years old this year, and I am 19. I am 2 years younger than Sister Xiaoguo. She almost said that Tang Guo was 2 years older than her. System, he was wrong. He had thought that Tang Meng Meng was a normal person in the Tang family. Now he knew that they were jackals of the same tribe. The top. Chapter 1245. Handsome, what's your name? Where do you work? Tang Mingming's eyes fell on the brand new Maybach again and her eyes lit up even more. She almost pounced on Yuan Shuo. Huron when Enicom Yuan Shuo was frightened by her gaze, but since she asked, he couldn't just ignore it. My name is Yuan Shuo, I'm Miss Tang's friend. Oh. Tang Mengmeng nodded, still staring at him as if to say that he hadn't finished introducing himself. Your car is not bad. Yuan Shuo's mouth twitched. What kind of people were in this family? Brother Yuan, are you waiting for your boss here? At this moment, Tang Guo suddenly said, your boss's car is not bad. Why, do you want to give me a ride? Yuan Shuo reacted immediately. I'm not waiting for my boss today. My boss decided to take me out for a business meeting tomorrow and asked me to pick him up tomorrow morning. He asked me to drive the car home and go there early tomorrow morning. After Yuan Shuo finished speaking, he was still thinking about the way she called him Brother Yuan. Being called like that, he felt his entire body go soft. If possible, how good would it be to call him that again? Anyway, we're going in the same direction. I can give you a ride. Tang Guo chuckled. Seeing that the passion in Tang Mingming's eyes had faded a lot, she introduced, this is Yuan Shuo, a friend I met by chance. In fact, it's quite dramatic that we met. How did you meet, Sister Xiaoguo? The passion in Tang Mingming's eyes had faded a lot, but Yuan Shuo's appearance was still very attractive. If the job was not bad, she might want to consider it. The corners of Tang Guo's lips curved. The reason we know each other is because he asked me to promote insurance. Insurance. Sell insurance. These days, as long as she heard that he was selling insurance, her impression of him would change. The infatuation in Tang Mingming's eyes quickly faded. Although she liked handsome guys, she didn't like handsome guys who sold insurance. This profession was very easy to offend and was very annoying. She remembered that among her classmates, there were also a few who sold insurance. Looking at Yuan Shuo, they all looked at him with some disdain. With her looks, it would be easy for her to find a handsome guy. Selling insurance. Forget it. The car belongs to the boss. He looks like a decent person, but he managed to deceive me. Thinking of this, Tang Mengmeng became angry. She almost lost face. Xiaoguo's cousin, why didn't she introduce her earlier? She made a fool of herself. Mengmeng, do you want to take Brother Yuan's car back together? Tang Guo invited her enthusiastically, as if she also wanted to take a luxury car. Tang Mengmeng despised him in her heart. It was not like he was selling insurance for his car. How could he be so proud as if it was his car? He should take a look at himself. Sister Xiaoguo's taste was really bad. He had to give this kind of person who drove the boss's car to give face a chance. No, I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. Besides, we're not going the same way, so let's forget about it. Tang Mengmeng made an excuse and left. When she disappeared, Tang Guo and Yuan Shuo looked at each other and laughed together. As for what they were laughing about, it was fine as long as they both knew. It's the first time in my life that I've been looked down upon so obviously. Yuan Shuo shook his head and opened the car door for Tang Guo. Miss Tang, your family is really special. Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled. There are even more special people, you'll get used to it. Even an insurance salesman like Mr. Yuan would be despised in our family. In their eyes, those who sell insurance are scammers who cheat them of their hard-earned money. The Peak. Chapter 1246. Yuan Shuo found it strange that there was such a unique girl in such a family. Huron when Enicom the two of them chatted and laughed as usual. However, the car had to stop halfway through the journey. The two of them got out of the car and asked someone, only to find out that there was a small car accident ahead. Tang Guo looked at this familiar place and was stunned for a moment. She took out her phone and looked at the date, silent. This was truly a case of self-inflicted evils. Let's go up and take a look. We can't leave anyway. It was rush hour now, and the car had just driven over when it was already blocked. The two of them walked into the crowd and saw a white old lady lying in front of a small broken car. One of the old lady's legs was pressed under the car, and the pedestrians didn't dare to move. If it was only the leg, they could help lift the car. But now, they didn't dare to do anything. If anything happened to the old lady, they wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. In this day and age, old ladies and grandpas were the worst to provoke. If they provoked them, it would be tens of thousands. They couldn't afford to provoke them. The person standing beside the small broken car looked familiar to Yuan Shuo. Soon, he remembered when he had seen this person. Wasn't this Tang Guo's uncle? Miss Tang, it seems to be someone from your family. The two of them stood in the crowd. Tang Liping frowned and said to the people around him, "She ran to my car herself. I drove over, but who knew that she would rush over directly?" Tang Liping's hands were covered in cold sweat. He had braked just now. But because the brakes were a little slow, he should have been able to brake immediately, but it took him 5 seconds to do so. In these 5 seconds, the old lady's leg was rolled into the tire. I know this old lady. She often scams people here. Many people know her. As long as we drive on this road, the car is comparable to a turtle. Who knows if she will suddenly appear? Don't you think this is retribution? This time, someone braked slowly and didn't brake. I think she won't be able to keep her leg. That driver is really unlucky. What Tang Guo wanted to say was that Tang Liping was not unlucky at all. He deserved it. According to the original story, all her family's bad luck started when they borrowed a car. The car was lent to Tang Jiming, but Tang Jiming got into a car accident and lost his leg. The matter of compensation fell on Tang Guo's head. Because the car was hers, Lu Chunyue still felt that she was responsible for Tang Jiming's accident, so she hated her in the end. Tang Li and his wife would still feel guilty towards Tang Jiming. In their eyes, no one could be more pitiful than Tang Jiming, who had lost his leg. It turned out that while borrowing the car, Tang Jiming would exchange the broken car with Tang Guo and let her drive it instead of walking. Later on, when Tang Jiming got into trouble, it was her father who drove up and down. Tang Jiming's family did not ask for the car back for the time being. Today, the person who was supposed to have met the old lady while driving should have been her father, Tang Li. Under normal circumstances, according to the speed of the car in the middle of the city, it was possible to stop the car and not hit the old lady. Even if he was really extorted, it would only be a matter of a few hundred yuan. But because the car was old, the braking reaction was slow. This caused the brakes to stop after a few seconds, and in the end, the old lady's leg was rolled in. The old lady was in so much pain that Tang Li had to pay a lot of money. The original owner of the car was Tang Jiming, but Tang Jiming had broken his leg. The peak. Chapter 1247. The old lady's family saw that the young man had broken his leg. Enicom, it would be unreasonable to go up and extort them again, so they might as well bite Tang Li to death. Not only did Tang Li compensate the old lady's family a lot of money, but he also gave Tang Jiming the money to scrap the car because the car hit the old lady. Because Tang Guo sold the car and asked the couple to give the money to Tang Jiming directly, this changed the outcome. Who would have thought that the person who hit the old lady would actually become Tang Liping? She stood at the side and smiled. Her smile was very evil, and she was in a very good mood. Host, don't you think that evil people will be punished by the heavens? It should be said that evil people will be punished by evil people. When the two families of evil people come together, I don't know what kind of sparks will be created. The pure system sighed. Host, you have successfully avoided disaster. The original owner of this world was really unlucky. Having a pair of spendthrift parents, her luck was very bad. Other than her good job, almost everything in her life was bad. Ever since the great host arrived, everything was slowly changing. Now that Tang Liping's family was involved, how could this debt be blamed on the host's family? The car was Tang Jiming's, and the person who hit the old lady was Tang Liping. They're probably going to borrow money again. Tang Guo's tone was cold and ruthless. Go ahead. I'm waiting for them to empty out the family. Miss Tang, you don't look very happy. Yuan Shuo asked. Are you worried about your uncle? In fact, he felt that Tang Liping's family was not good people, so there was no need to worry. No, I'm worried. They're going to borrow money from my parents again. Tang Guo shook her head. I can't stop them. Sooner or later, they'll borrow all the money from our family. We can't go on like this. Tang Guo raised her head and looked at Yuan Shuo. CEO Yuan, you're very knowledgeable. Do you have any good suggestions to stop my parents from being spendthrifts? This was really difficult for Yuan Shuo. This was more difficult than writing a plan. So, CEO Yuan has no other choice, right? Tang Guo had already expected that people like her parents wouldn't listen to persuasion or make a fuss. Even if they suffered a little, they wouldn't regret it. There was only one way to pull them back. He wanted them to experience what it felt like to be in despair. If this goes on, I'll really be down and out. She didn't expect Yuan Shuo to continue. If Miss Tang has nowhere to go and is poor, you can come and rely on me. After saying that, he felt that something was amiss and hurriedly said, We've known each other for a long time. We should be considered friends, right? If a friend is in trouble, I have no problem helping him. Then I'll thank CEO Yuan first. Seeing that she didn't reject him, Yuan Shuo actually had a happy feeling in his heart. How strange. However, he always felt very happy that he could help her, as if he should help her. That wonderful feeling just wouldn't go away no matter what. The ambulance soon arrived. Tang Guo and Yuan Shuo also got into the car, and the vehicles began to slowly evacuate. Tang Guo didn't go in front of Tang Liping. She didn't want to get involved in such trouble. Anyway, they would soon come to her parents to borrow money. If she went, there would be a lot of trouble. In the end, the responsibility would probably fall on her. She didn't want to be the spendthrifts. Sure enough, it didn't take long for the news of Tang Liping hitting the old lady to spread in the family group. It was said that the old lady's leg had been comminuted. Although it wasn't amputated, she would still be a cripple after being cured. The peak. Chapter 1248. Lu Chunyue's heart turned cold. Huaran when Enicom that old lady's family was not easy to deal with. They asked for 500,000 yuan. If they didn't give it, Tang Liping would have to go to court. The broken car was also sent for inspection and found that there was a problem with the brakes. Even if the old lady rushed over herself, in this society, the weak were the most reasonable. Moreover, Tang Liping was the one who hit her. In short, he had to pay. If he didn't pay, he would go to court. Lu Chunyue and Tang Liping didn't want to go to court. They wanted to discuss with the other party if they could reduce it a little. 500,000 yuan was really too much. The old lady's family wouldn't let it go. They insisted on 500,000 yuan, not a cent less. At this time, Lu Chunyue's family still wanted to discuss with the old lady's family. For the time being, they didn't ask Tang Guo's family to borrow money. One day, Tangguo returned home and saw a familiar person. 1 ton, 1 ton and 1 tea/Iya, her grandmother, old Madame Song, was talking to Song Jinghua with a smile on her face. At that time, a few words appeared in her mind. The person who wanted to borrow money was here. Xiaogua, you're back from work. Old Madame Song smiled at everyone. In fact, she wasn't close to Tangguo. Every time she thought of her second daughter, Song Jinghua, it was because she was short of money. As she chatted with Song Jinghua, she talked about Song Tianling wanting to buy a house. Song Tianling was old Madame Song's youngest son. She loved him the most. Whatever they had, they would stick to Song Tianling. In the past, he often came to her house to ask for money. Everything he got was given to Song Tianling. It could be said that half of Song Tianling was raised by Song Jinghua. I thought about it. Since we're buying a house, we definitely can't buy a house in the suburbs. It's better not to buy a house in the suburbs. Buying a house is a lifetime thing. It's more convenient to buy a house in the city. But the housing prices in the city are really rising. Old Madame Song's smiling face became a little sad. Jinghua, Tianling is your brother. You can't ignore your brother. When he was young, Tianling bought 2 candies in school, you had a share. He has always respected you in his heart. Now that Tianling wants to buy a house, you have to help him. Mom, have you found a house? Song Jinghua didn't think it was bad to help Tianling. Take the Tang family for example. Didn't the Tang family always help them? What was wrong with her helping her maternal family? Tang Li wouldn't oppose it. They were all family, and helping each other was something that should be done. Now, pay 500,000 yuan. I heard from Tianling that it's a very high-end neighborhood. In short, the house there is very good. If you don't buy it now, you won't be able to afford it in the future. The position is all good. Jinghua, you won't refuse, right? Old Madame Song's face darkened. Jinghua, I heard that you lent a lot of money to Brother Li's family, right? Why can't I help my own younger brother just because I want to help my own family? Old Madame Song's eyes reddened. A married daughter is like spilled water. Jinghua, I really doted on you for nothing. When I came, I even promised Tianling that his second sister doted on him the most and would definitely help him. I didn't expect. Mom. Don't cry. I didn't mean that. Chapter 1249. Tianling is my brother. How can I not help him? Song Jinghua was a little flustered. Help, Mom, I'll help. But 500,000 is too much. I can't take out that much right now. Originally, she and Tang Li had about 1,000,000 yuan in savings. Previously, they had borrowed 500,000 yuan from Lu Chuanyue's family and paid for Tang Jiming's medical expenses. Later, they gave them another 100,000 yuan. Now, they had less than 500,000 yuan in savings. Moreover, the family had no savings at all. She was a little anxious. Then how much do you have? Less than 400,000 yuan. Song Jinghua said. Mom, how about I pool together and give you 400,000 yuan? I can't take out more than that. Looking at the pitiful look on her mother's face, she thought about it and went to the company to get an advance of her salary for the next month. 400,000 yuan was still possible. Since her brother wanted to buy a house in the city, she didn't have any objections. If the house was there, it wouldn't depreciate. If she could help, she would. If she missed it, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Although she panicked because she didn't have any savings, she couldn't not help her own family. Thinking back, she and Tang Li had started from scratch. Fortunately, they had a place to stay in the city. She could understand how people who didn't have a house yearned to have a home of their own. Moreover, this person was her own brother. How could she not help? Tangguo listened in the house. She had no intention of going out to persuade her. According to the current progress, this house was the only thing left of her parents' assets. Of course, this house would probably be lost in the end and they would become poor. But it didn't matter. With her around, she would definitely give them food to eat. They wouldn't starve to death. Old Madame Song stayed at Tangguo's house for 2 days. When she got the money from Song Jinghua, she took the things that Song Jinghua bought for her and left not long after. Tangguo came home from work one day and saw Song Jinghua sitting alone on the sofa in the living room with a frown on her face. She sneered in her heart and walked over to sit beside Song Jinghua. "Mom, why are you frowning? Did you run into some trouble?" "No, nothing." Song Jinghua thought that Tangguo didn't know that she had lent all the money at home to old Madame Song. She even took a month's salary in advance and borrowed a few thousand yuan from her colleagues. Now, he was empty-handed and even owed a debt. It had been a long time since she had experienced the feeling of not having any money in her hands and feeling flustered. In a moment of impulse, she had lent out all her money. In fact, she felt a little regretful in her heart. However, when she remembered that old Madame Song was her mother and Song Tianling was her younger brother, she felt that it was only right. Their family had also lent a lot of money to the family. Couldn't they lend it to her family? It would be a joke if she got into a conflict with her family just because of money. Her maternal family had always been her pillar of support. Tangguo could guess Song Jinghua's thoughts. Yes, a woman's maternal family was indeed the support of a married woman, but it also depended on her maternal family. As for old Madame Song's family, they were so biased. Apart from sucking blood from Song Jinghua, they had never helped Song Jinghua at all. "Mom, are you really okay? You don't look very well," Tangguo asked with a look of concern. Song Jinghua felt a little guilty and quickly stood up. "It's nothing. What are you worried about? I'm going to cook. Xiaogua, clean up the house." The Peak. Chapter 1250. At dinner, Tang Lide saw a table full of vegetarian dishes and was surprised. "Why is there no meat today? It's all vegetarian dishes." "It's good to eat vegetarian dishes occasionally. I ate too much fish and meat a while ago and my stomach felt a little uncomfortable," Song Jinghua said guiltily. "Anyway, there are only a few days left this month. I've decided that our family will eat vegetarian dishes for the rest of the month. It's good for our health. But I still want to eat meat." Tang Lide looked at the vegetarian dishes on the table with disdain. "Jinghua, without meat, we can't eat this meal." Song Jinghua patted Tang Lide's stomach and said, "With your big belly, you should eat more vegetarian dishes. I've decided that our family will also eat vegetarian dishes next month." Tang lied. Wasn't that asking for his life? "Host, your mother is so amazing. She helped her own brother and made her family eat vegetarian dishes." "Yes, she's amazing. I'm not used to eating vegetarian dishes for a month. In the future, let's eat outside and come back. Help me check if there are any delicious private dishes near the company." The system glanced at Tang Lide and Song Jinghua, who were eating vegetarian dishes. When it heard that Tang Guo wanted to eat private dishes, it almost spat out its food. Good, the host was really good. She really could do it. However, to deal with this kind of person, it had to be ruthless. When she woke up the next morning, Tang Guo had already received the list of private dishes given to her by the system. She glanced at it and planned to eat at every restaurant after work. It was Tang Lied and his wife who were short of money, not her. The two of them didn't say that she was an adult and had to learn to take care of herself. Therefore, she had to take good care of herself. After work, she didn't immediately go to a private restaurant that she had booked. Instead, she walked to the place where Yuan Shuo would appear. The two of them bumped into each other again and greeted each other. System, the world of adults is really boring. What bullshit. These two were really smart and pretending to be stupid. Mr. Yuan, let me treat you to a meal. Tang Guo leaned against the car door and said, I feel a little guilty that I always take your car. I'd like to treat you to a meal to express my gratitude. System, damn host, haven't you been riding on someone else's car for almost 2 months? This was the first time he had heard her say sorry. Did the sun rise from the west? Yuan Shuo was surprised, but he didn't refuse. As long as there was nothing else, he was used to passing by here every day and waiting for her to come. Even if he had meetings sometimes, he would subconsciously give her a call and a message to tell her that he would be home later that day. However, such situations were rare. As long as he could come here, he would come. How could I refuse Miss Tang's kindness? What are we going to eat? Are we going to a noodle restaurant? He had been trying to find out more about Tang Guo's family. He also knew that her parents had neglected their daughter for the sake of their blood-sucking relatives. This was the first time he had seen parents who cared so much about their relatives that they didn't care about their own daughter. Subconsciously, he felt that a small noodle restaurant was the best place to eat. Actually, the taste of the small noodle shop was not bad. When he was in school, he often went to the small noodle shop outside the school to eat. I've already booked a place. When Tang Guo brought Yuan Shuo to a private restaurant with a good reputation, he was stunned for a moment and asked in a low voice, how did you get a seat here? Chapter 1251. He remembered that he had to book a seat a month in advance at this private restaurant. Maybe I'm lucky. Tang Guo looked at the menu and raised her head. It seems that you know this place. What do you want to eat? Shall I order it for you? Yuan Shuo hesitated and said in a low voice, the food here is very expensive. He sounded as if he was short of money. System, ha ha ha, this is hilarious. He looks as if he is saving money for the host. He will be a good husband in the future. You are welcome, Mr. Yuan. I can afford to treat you to a meal. Seeing that he didn't believe her, Tang Guo ordered a few of her favorite dishes. They were all the signature dishes here. Yuan Shuo looked at the dishes and fell silent. Weren't these his favorite dishes? Seeing Yuan Shuo's expression, Tang Guo knew that his taste hadn't changed, so she ordered a few more dishes. Song Jinghua had been cooking vegetarian dishes every day for the past 2 days, so her taste had faded a lot. She had to order a table full of good dishes before going back. Yuan Shuo was satisfied with the private restaurant and was in a very good mood. He had a VIP card for this private restaurant, but almost everyone who came here had a VIP card. People who wanted to get a seat here had to line up. He had missed the food here for a long time. Tang Guo pursed her lips and smiled when she saw his unsatisfied expression. When it was time to pay the bill, Yuan Shuo was relieved when he saw that she didn't feel bad at all. I finally had a full meal. In the car, Yuan Shuo heard her words and asked in surprise, why? Your family doesn't feed you enough. That was a bit too much. It's not that they don't feed me, Tang Guo answered. My mother lent all the money at home to my uncle to buy a house. She also gave us next month's salary in advance. We might have to eat vegetarian food next month. How can we be full if we eat vegetarian food every day without meat? She doesn't know yet. I heard that she lent money to my uncle in the room. She probably thought that she kept it a secret and no one knew. Yuan Shuo didn't know how to comfort her. Seeing that she didn't look too sad, he was even more confused. Miss Tang, why haven't you thought of moving out and living alone? With your current salary, you should be able to afford the rent. Living outside, you can be considered free. Many of the annoying things will be far away from you. He had always felt that it was a miracle that she was still so beautiful in the context of family Tang. If he continued to stay here, who knew what would happen in the future? Even if she didn't change, would this family bully her to death? If you think the rent is too expensive, I have a few empty apartments under my name. I can lend them to you first. When you have money, you can pay the rent. He didn't care about the rent, but he was afraid that she would misunderstand if he told her directly that she could live anywhere she wanted. It was better to use this as an excuse. No need. I live at home for a reason. Tang Guo rested her hand on her chin and glanced at Yuan Shuo. CEO Yuan is really a kind person. He actually cares about my future and has already planned it for me. CEO Yuan, are you like this to everyone, generously lending your apartment to others? So, CEO Yuan, how many of the houses under your name are actually loaned out to other people? Yuan Shuo, not a single one. I'm not so kind every time, Yuan Shuo said with a straight face. Chapter 1252. I just feel that I hit it off with Miss Tang. Aren't we friends now? It's only right to help a friend. Oh, then CEO Yuan is a very loyal person. To be able to make a friend like CEO Yuan is really a blessing of 3 lifetimes. System, host, you're really a good person. You keep throwing stacks of cards at Yuan Shuo as if they don't cost money. Tang Guo was full from the private restaurant, so she didn't eat much at dinner. Song Jinghua saw that Tang Guo didn't eat much and couldn't help but ask, Xiao Guo, is the food not to your liking? Mom, I've been on a diet recently. System, who are you kidding? I don't know who ate so much this afternoon. I see. Tang Guo clearly felt that Song Jinghua was relieved. She smiled and said, I'll go back to my room first. You guys enjoy your meal. Not long after returning to her room, Tang Guo vaguely heard some movement outside. She closed her eyes and watched everything through the system. Sister-in-law wants to borrow money again. Song Jinghua asked in a trembling voice. Didn't we lend them 500,000 yuan last time? Lida, although we should help our relatives, we just lent them 500,000 yuan not long ago. Why do they want to borrow so much again? If they borrow more, our family will be broken up. You're exaggerating. Tang Lida put down his chopsticks. Isn't it just lending out our savings? Big brother told me that when we return the money, we'll definitely return it according to the bank's interest. Big brother has always been fair and kind. He won't lie to me. Also, this time it's really urgent. The old lady who came to extort money from Big Brother refused to let him go. In the end, we couldn't mediate. That family wants money, or else they'll sue Big Brother. Tang Li sighed. Big Brother is already so old. If this goes to court, where will he hide his face? In the end, he decided to give them the money. You know their family situation. We don't lack anything now. We're just taking out our savings to help Big Brother. We're brothers. How can he hide this money from me? Tang Guo, isn't that right? They never thought of returning the money they borrowed. When did Big Brother and the others borrow money without an IOU? Tang Guo, isn't the IOU the point of this kind of a fool? Jinghua, if we calculate our savings, we should have close to 400,000 yuan. I won't be able to gather 500,000. I plan to get an advance of next month's salary tomorrow and gather 400,000 for Big Brother. Tang Li said. Song Jinghwa's expression turned ugly as she said, Lida, why don't you ask big brother and sister-in-law to think of another way? Third brother's family doesn't have it easy either. Meng Meng is still in school. That money was prepared for Meng Meng to go abroad in the future. No matter what, we can't delay Meng Meng from studying abroad, right? In the end, Tang Lide felt that something was wrong. After asking Song Jinghua a few times, she finally told him the truth and said that she had already lent the money to her brother, Song Tianling, to buy a house. She had also taken next month's salary in advance. Now, their family no longer had any savings. Jinghua, how could you lend out all the money? You should at least keep some for yourself. Tang Lido was furious. You didn't even discuss it with me. No wonder our family has been eating vegetables recently. It's because we don't have any money. Chapter 1253. What? You're the only one who's allowed to help the family Tang, but I'm not allowed to help my family. Song Jinghua's temper flared up. What's wrong with lending money to my brother? All these years, how much money have you lent to the family Tang? My brother is buying a house. As his sister, how can I not help him? If word gets out, people will say that I'm cold and heartless. I don't even care about my own brother. What do you mean by leave some money? Didn't you just say that you want to give your brother an advance of next month's salary to raise $400,000? Tang Lide was unreasonable by Song Jinghua's question. The two of them quarreled about this until late at night before they went to bed. In short, the family had no savings, so they definitely couldn't lend money to Tang Liping. Tang Lide was so worried that he couldn't sleep well the whole night. When Tang Guo woke up in the morning and saw his tired face, she kindly showed concern. Dad, you don't look too good. Did something happen? No, nothing. I just didn't sleep well last night. Tang Lide tried his best to hide his abnormality. He couldn't let Tang Guo know that all the family savings had been lent out. Recently, the whole family had been eating vegetables every day because they had no money. He was a little glad that Tang Guo was on a diet and didn't mind eating vegetables. Oh, that's good. Dad, remember to rest well. Only then will you have the energy to work. After Tang Guo freshened up, she prepared to go out. Song Jinghua came out of the kitchen. Xiao Guo, why didn't you eat breakfast? I've already cooked some noodles. Eat some before you go. Mom, I'm on a diet. Song Jinghua remembered what happened yesterday and didn't force her. Okay, then you go. Half an hour later, Tang Guo brought a cup of soy milk, a pancake, a braised meat roll, and a braised egg into the office. She came early. It wasn't time to go to work yet, so she ate very well in the pantry. System, host, what happened to the diet? I don't want to eat noodles in the morning. It's still vegetarian. Tang Guo said to the system, the braised meat rolls and pancakes are still the best. The braised eggs are also not bad. It's best to pair it with a cup of soy milk. System, speechless. How can I not eat breakfast? Even if you want to lose weight, breakfast is the most important, and you have to eat better. The system thought to itself, that's right. However, his host didn't need to lose weight. Host, do you think Tang Liping's family will give up on borrowing money from your family now that all the family savings have been loaned out? That will depend on what my father can do for them. In my father's eyes, the eldest brother is like a father. Furthermore, he was not well off when he was young. My uncle started working early and sponsored my father's college education. Do you think my father will not care about them? Even if it's to repay a debt of gratitude, it's been decades. Everything should have been repaid by now. But my father doesn't think so. He thinks that he will always owe uncle's family. He always said that it was because his uncle gave up the opportunity to study and went to work that he was able to go to university. However, after reading the storyline of this world, I am very skeptical of this statement. Because my uncle's grades were quite bad. It was impossible for him to get into university. Moreover, there was a period of turbulence. How could someone with bad grades be able to get into university after so many years? Speaking of which, he did sponsor my father for a year. After a year, my father decided to reduce the burden on the family. He worked part-time and studied, and basically didn't ask for a single cent from the family anymore. Chapter 1254. So, he actually sponsored the host's father for a year. The system understood what happened next. Then, in the following decades, your father subsidized their family. This included Tang Liping and his wife finding jobs in the city and transferring Tang Jiming to Tanggua's school. Later on, no matter what the family did, Tang Lide would help them. No matter what the family did, Tang Lide didn't think it was too much. He always remembered that Tang Liping was his biological brother who sponsored his college education. Then, what about your mother? Why do I feel like she's similar to your father? Tanguo wiped the corners of her mouth and communicated with the system. My grandfather died early. My grandmother had 3 children, Song Zhenqiu, my mother, and Song Tianling. They were all raised by my grandmother. The 4 of them depended on each other. My mother has always valued the family relationship. Even though she wasn't my grandmother's favorite daughter. She was able to go to college in the end, not because my grandmother favored her, but because her grades were good enough. In that situation, she was the only one who could go to college. But she remembered this for the rest of her life. My grandmother often told her that if my aunt hadn't given up school and got married early, she wouldn't have had a chance. This is clearly moral coercion. Also, your family has helped your family a lot over the years. You fulfilled your obligations and repaid the favor. What can we do? Most people think that this kind of favor can't be repaid. The 2 of them are now puffing themselves up at their own cost in order to cling on to other people's families. Just wait and see. Something strange will happen later. Tanguo didn't think that the 2 spendthrifts would stop just like that. Although in the original plot, her family didn't end up with nothing, Tang Lide and Song Jinghua subsidized other people's families for the rest of their lives. Especially after the death of the original owner, they were even more unwilling to lose their family relationship. They were even crazier than before. They doted on their siblings' children as their own. Of course, in the end, they were miserable in their later years. If they didn't have a house, they would have ended up with no one to collect their corpses. The system looked at the original plot and sighed. After work in the afternoon, Tanguo met Yuan Shuo at the usual place. Let's eat at another restaurant today. Yuan Shuo was surprised. Are you not going home immediately or are you eating outside? That's right. I can't stand being a vegetarian at home every day. Yuan Shuo heard something different. Did something happen to your family again? He didn't pay attention to these things. Only a peeping Tom or a pervert would pay attention to other people's family matters all day long. My family originally had about 1 million yuan in savings. My parents probably felt guilty when my cousin got into a car accident, so they paid for his medical expenses. I don't know how much they gave me in the middle, but later on, they lent them 500,000 yuan. When Tanguo said this, she saw Yuan Shuo's look of disbelief. She thought that there was more to come. As I said before, a few days ago, my grandmother came to borrow money from my mother. She wanted to buy a house for my uncle in the city. She lent all the money we had at home. My mother even went to work to get an advance payment for next month's salary. Then, from that day on, my mother started cooking vegetarian dishes every day. She didn't even eat much oil. She didn't say anything at noon. In the morning, she just cooked some vegetarian noodles. Who can stand eating like that every day? It's not like I'm on a diet. Now, something happened to my uncle's family again. I don't know what will happen. Chapter 1255. Yuan Shuo subconsciously sized up Tang Guo's figure. She was slim and well-proportioned. Indeed, she didn't need to lose weight. She looked perfect like this. If she lost too much weight, she wouldn't look so good. Haven't your parents thought about their own lives? In order to help other people, they even have to save money for food. In Yuan Shuo's eyes, this was unbelievable. Tang Guo shook her head. They only care about the affection between family members. Every time I try to persuade them, they say that I have no conscience. Now I won't persuade them anymore. They can fund whoever they want. It's their own money anyway. Now, she was waiting for the two of them to have nothing. No one was willing to help them. She especially wanted them to experience what despair and helplessness felt like. The people she had once spent so much effort to help actually ignored them when they were at their wits' end. Just thinking about it made Tang Guo very happy. Yuan Shuo found that Tang Guo was actually smiling as she spoke. He really couldn't understand why her parents could still smile when they had been such a fool. When Tang Guo brought him to another private restaurant, Yuan Shuo couldn't help but say, "This restaurant is also quite delicious." However, they have to line up for 2 months to get a seat. How did you do it? The current Tang Guo was still a little mysterious in his eyes. She was clearly an ordinary girl, but she was actually able to get a seat in a few private restaurants that he liked. These private restaurants required a VIP card to line up for a seat number. So where did she get the VIP card and how did she get it was a mystery to him. The system sensed Yuan Shuo's doubts and smiled without saying anything. How did he get it? Of course, it was his ability. Was the host short of money? The thing she didn't lack the least was money. It could be said that the wealth in her system space was incomparable to that of anyone in this world. However, she didn't use these things if she could. In her words, her wealth was everything she had experienced in the small world. These experiences were her wealth. With the experience and knowledge that existed in her mind, she would not lack money no matter where she went in a short period of time. Of course, the fastest way to earn money is to throw more than 100,000 yuan into the stock market. If you don't have the basic funds, the great host knows everything. You can casually teach 2 children some talents and you'll be rich. Singing, dancing, painting, playing all kinds of musical instruments, achievements in mathematics. She was simply an all-rounder. Any one of them would be able to lead a good life. The system did not find it strange that Tang Guo knew these things. Even if it was an ordinary person who had traveled through countless worlds and experienced thousands of years, as long as they were willing to learn in every world, they would definitely be rich. This wealth did not refer to worldly possessions. The system suddenly felt a little stifled. Actually, for such a powerful host, her needs for the system should be very small. It was as if he was useless. What nonsense are you thinking? Tongzi. The two of them had been bound together for thousands of years. Of course, Tang Guo could easily sense that something was wrong with the system. Host, I suddenly realized that with or without me, you can live very well. I'm really of little use to you. Tongzi, I'm a little suspicious of your gender. You're so sentimental. Don't tell me you're a girl. Chapter 1256. Go, go, go. Host, don't doubt my gender. I'm an authentic male system. Don't doubt your value. With you around, it's much more convenient for me to do anything. For example, in many worlds in the past, I needed to collect videos as evidence. If I did it myself, it would be more than 10 times more troublesome. With you around, it's different. Whatever image you want, you can just pull it out. There's also the plot of the reporting world. Without you, I wouldn't know anything. When I do things, I would have to be restrained. How inconvenient would that be? For example, if I wanted to find a piece of information on the internet, it would take a long time for me to do it myself. With you around, it would only take a few minutes for me to find what I need from the huge database. The firewall of the online world is like an empty shell to you, and I still have to spend time cracking it. So, Tongzi, you're very useful. Look at how many worlds we've passed through together. In every world, we'll meet different people. Often, these people are just passers-by in my life. But you're different. You'll always be by my side. You're my best partner. The system was touched. So he was so important to the host. He regretted it. When he was ignorant, he only knew how to urge the host to do missions every day. He felt that he was useless. In the end, the host said so many words to comfort him. Instantly, he was full of energy again. Host, I'll always be your most loyal partner. No matter what happens in the future, I'll always be by your side. I'll never betray you. He already understood that even if there was another person by the host's side, that person would not be able to replace his position. That person and him were different in the host's heart. He would always stand by the host's side and never betray her. As for that person, who knew? The human heart was changeable and no one could predict it. He hoped that that guy would be tactful, listen to the host, be obedient, and spend more time with the host. In the future, he would not be jealous so easily. He already understood that in the host's heart, he was very important. That was enough. Miss Tang. Yuan Shuo felt that Tang Guo was distracted while eating. It had already been 3 minutes before he reminded her. Tang Guo came back to her senses and looked at him with a smile. What's wrong? Are you thinking about your family? I'm sorry, I can't help you. No matter whose family matters, outsiders could not interfere. Not to mention outsiders, even Tang Guo herself could not stop her parents from doing those things, let alone him, an outsider who was unfamiliar with them. Every time he heard her talk about her family, he felt some sympathy in his heart. To be born in such a family. Fortunately, his parents weren't such people. Suddenly, he had an impulse to bring her home and share some of his parents with her. He wanted her to truly experience what it was like to have parents who loved their children and loved them dearly. When he came to his senses, he felt that it was somewhat absurd. Was it absurd? Yuan Shuo thought of a possibility. Looking at Tang Guo, who was eating seriously, that possibility suddenly appeared in his heart. What? Tang Guo asked. Yuan Shuo smiled back at her. Nothing, I just suddenly understood something. Seeing that CEO Yuan is so happy, it must be something good. Chapter 1257. Yes, it's a good thing, Yuan Shuo answered. He was wondering why he had been trying to get close to her for the past 2 months. He wanted to see her every day. Because of the time she got off work, his afternoon meeting was changed to the morning. He was used to eating breakfast at home, but he had to get up earlier and bring breakfast to the company. It turned out that he had changed these habits so that he could meet her twice a day. Once in the morning and once in the afternoon. At first, he didn't care about these things and just did it subconsciously. He didn't think too much about it. Perhaps he thought that she was a very interesting person. It was indeed easy to get along with her. From her words, one could always feel a kind of shocking feeling. The words she said occasionally always gave people a different feeling. She lived in such a family, but she didn't seem to care about that. It could be said that none of the people he met in the family were kind, including her of course. But he liked her very much. The more he looked at her, the more she liked him. Previously, he was wondering why he always wanted to get close to her. At this moment, he understood. It turned out that he wanted to get close to her so that he could bring her home. Previously, he was thinking that he couldn't share half of his parents with her, but he was also wondering why he was so generous and wanted to share half of his parents with her. Unless he really cared about and liked someone, he wouldn't have such thoughts. He was like this to her. As long as he married her, wouldn't his parents be her parents? Miss Tang, we've known each other for 2 months, right? Yuan Shuo said. Tang Guo nodded slightly to show that it was true. Mr. Yuan, are you trying to say that we're already friends and you want to lend me money to buy insurance? Of course, I can lend you money. I can also help you buy insurance. I'll buy you any insurance. Since we're friends, I'll give you a discount. Give me a 90% discount. Yuan Shuo thought that when he coaxed her to his side in the future, he would renew her insurance for free every year. Did he still need to give money to his wife? In the future, his money would all be hers. Miss Tang, since we're all friends, isn't it a little strange for you to address me as CEO Yuan and Miss Tang? Why don't we change the way we address him? System, yo, this guy is finally enlightened. No wonder she agreed to lend him money. She must have some ulterior motives for his host. Of course. Then I'll call you Xiaoguo from now on. When Yuan Shuo called out her name, he felt a warm feeling in his heart, as if he should call her that. Every time he called her Miss Tang, he felt that it was too distant. Xiaoguo, you can call me by my name. You can also call me Brother Xing Yuan like that day. System, this guy. CEO Yuan, you've never played games before, right? Yuan Shuo felt a little strange. Why did Tang Guo talk about games? Since she asked, he had to answer, I don't have time. Although he had time to meet her for dinner every day, he spent his free time either working or sleeping. Ever since he met her, he had squeezed out all his free time to meet and spend time with her. I'll call you Brother Shuo from now on. Tang Guo fulfilled Yuan Shuo's wish of being a brother. Brother Yuan, listen, it sounds like a character in a game. It will make me fall out of character. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.